We are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm Justin.
And I'm David.
Together, we are leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename too.
We will be your hosts for this episode and every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
That explains last week's lack of content.
Today is our 77th episode.
Hey, we did it!
We sure did! And what a show we have planned for you today. We've got 3 great topics for the discussion section.
The discussion section?
Oh yeah, you bet. Topic 1. How active can an idle game be before it's not actually an idle game?
What? No, we're not doing a discussion section. This is a Q&A show.
Oh, I thought we were switching it up.
Yeah, the order we do the intro, not the entire structure of the show.
Oh, well, that's just no fun. I guess nobody gets to know what topic 2 and 3 are.
I guess not.
Oh well. Anyway, as always, we are here to answer development and design questions about idle champions.
If you don't ask any questions, however, you may have to suffer through David's one-man reenactment of...
Whoa, wait. I did not have anything prepared. I didn't think I was going to have to do this part.
Not being prepared is no excuse. I come prepared every episode, but people always ask questions.
And that is an impressive feat. I really don't know how you do it. All right. As always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we did not get to, so we will answer some of those while we are waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, I have some updates on items that were flagged to get looked at by the dev team. So without any further stalling for time, we'll get started with those. Okay, so on the top of the list for fixes and new features, we do have a small handful of items here this week, which is great. We do get these done. We may just be a little bit slow, but we do get them done. The redesigned Forge character selection screen that I've been previewing the last 2 episodes is now live. I believe it's on some platforms. I think it's on most platforms. This new selection for characters also applies to selection for blacksmithing contracts, for legendary potions, and for the new pigment system. So that's sort of an improvement across the board. We also added a shortcut to get to the Forge directly on the character sheet. So that's another convenience for that. And we did adjust the sorting of the campaign lists on the Modron automation screen that was requested. This list was in no particular order, as I could see before. But if you are looking at setting up your Modron automation for different formations in advance, that list is now in order alphabetically by champion name first, after all of the campaign, and I think it's the patron ones first ahead of that section. So it should be easier to go through if that's something you were looking at going through manually. I think sort of the default use case is you'd be on the campaign you're looking at. So hopefully some improvement, but so that's done. Next one is in progress items here. This is a familiar list if you have been watching the show. First one here is adding an icon to the portraits of champions that are blocked due to variant rules that have a feat available that could make them unblocked. I know Peter had that basically done and was just waiting for some icons on it, so I'm actually not sure the status of that. I should confirm. We still have prioritized saving feats with formations. A random skin mode. This is where you would select just random skin, and then at the beginning of each adventure it would pick a random skin for a champion. Adding a tooltip to gear with a max level to indicate the progress towards max level. An option on mobile for quickly returning to Area 1. Additional icons on the quest tracker for the different types of season quest. Recall for familiar, and an indicator for unread changelogs. All right. Let's get into the leftover questions from the previous show.
Yeah, I pulled a couple forward here.
Okay, first question is from Kejmo. Hope that's right. Will there be some more champions from Planescape Torment, Icewind Dale, or Baldur's Gate 1, 2, or 3? Some of them are legendary.
Yeah, the answer to this question is yes. But I can't really get more specific than that. But yes, I believe we have access to all those. So I would love to get some of those into the game at some point in the future.
Indeed. Okay. Next question is from Emote. Could we please have a way to get collection items, the ones that are common to rare, on already capped items?
Yeah, so this is something that we've talked about before, and I will happily talk about again up until the point that we actually get it implemented. But kind of the plan for this is to probably take a look at this when we look at revamping the collection screen. So it's been something that I've kind of joked about on and off for probably a year or
Forever,
so,
yeah.
of wanting to redo the collection screen with some more detail in there. And we're actually it's within, I don't know if it's within sight, but it's just over the horizon, where we'll actually be able to start on that, and we're underway on some of the design portions of that. So part of that will be making sure that we just tweak chests just a little bit so that there's a way to fill up that items progress bar to 100%.
Okay. The next and final question that we pulled forward from last week is, or not last week, this was the week before, my bad, both counts, is from Zebros, asking, for Turiel's specialization, is it just me or are the icons from the pop-up swapped to the wrong spots? The charisma one has the heart, usually associated with constitution, and the constitution buff has a speaking mouth, the charisma-ish, question mark.
Yes, that does sound like that is backwards. So if that hasn't already been fixed in the last 2 weeks, we will get someone to fix that now.
I'm just looking down here. Looks like Emote got the exact question pasted in again this
I'm
week.
shocked.
Hopefully they caught it. Oh, they did. Good. Okay. Moving on to questions from this week. First question here is from the Library of Akasha. Please change the Trials Mount Tiamat Exalted Legend from 5 to 6 to 6 to, or from 5 to 6 to 6 chests, and normal from 1 to 1 to 2. Everything in between, bump it up by, and everything in between, bump it up by half. Yes, you get more scales from Exalted Legend, but it doesn't feel nice to get one less chest due to a chance when you're already doing the highest difficulty.
Yeah, I think that's a fair request. I think when you're doing the highest difficulty, you don't want to feel like you're getting less than if you'd done a lower difficulty. With that said, I think the chests are something we need to look at in Trials of Tiamat kind of the next time we cycle around to that system, because I've seen lots of good ideas of ways we could spice up those chests and make them more interesting in general. But I think if we did that, we definitely want to make sure that when you're doing the highest difficulty, you get the most number of chests. So yeah. The next question here is from Conductor Kitscan, and they ask, is there a fix in the works for characters being on screen but not contributing to the damage dealt? A game restart can usually fix this, but not always. I've noticed this happens more with Birdsong and Keelik, and their suggestion is it's probably because Birdsong is chasing and trying to eat Keelik. So I think this is, I'm not entirely sure what's happening here, but I feel like it's characters are like not attacking anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with this one, honestly. That's I can tag that to make sure and see what Peter knows about that, but that wasn't something that I was aware of.
I've heard of it happening with certain ultimates before. So it might be related to some sort of ultimate attack freeze. So once they've done their ultimate, they don't do any more attacks. Yeah, Lex the cat there is saying that swapping Artemis in and out can make his base attack freeze. Some sort of timing issue,
definitely
perhaps.
sounds like a bug.
Yeah.
Well, we tagged it.
This would definitely be champion specific. So if there's specific champions that are doing it, then those should be pointed out in any sort of tickets or in here. I see people are saying Artemis and Shaka, Birdsong. Those are ones to look at. It's probably something similar with those three champions or the champions that this is happening to.
Okay. Moving on. Next question here from Emote. Could Dob please get his current deposit stack maximum added to his offshore counting ability in the formation buffs tab? My 25 times table is a little rusty when getting into the triple digits.
Oh, well. I mean, we're just trying to help you out with your 25 times tables. But yeah, we can look at that. That should be doable. I don't think there's anything that would stop that from happening.
Okay. Next question. Also from Emote. Could we please have a way to open the character sheets of champions that are in seats currently used by a different champion without swapping champions? And also champions locked away in Trials of Mount Tiamat or in background parties, so that we can swap feats, check stats, and dismantle without interrupting the formation.
Yeah, this is a pretty common request, and I definitely see the value in it. The aforementioned collections dialogue, I think we'll have some of this stuff in there, but I think this is probably something we want to prioritize before we get to the collections dialogue rework. So I think this is something that we can spend a bit of time thinking about. I imagine it's not as easy as just having a way to swap to that champion on the dialogue, because I imagine it's probably tied specifically to the champion that's in the seat, and there might be some weirdness about.
Yeah, I think we could probably show the details without too much difficulty. I think some of the requests there of being able to say swap feats or say dismantle could be a problem if they're in another party. It would certainly wouldn't be straightforward. It would require whatever party they were in to their progress to be stopped and recalculated at that point. Not that it wouldn't be doable, just that it's not perfectly straightforward. But I think just bringing it up wouldn't be an issue as far as like what data is actually loaded and available. But yeah, changing things on them would change things that were happening on the other parties, which would be, if they were in another party, which would then require some additional work to make those changes take effect.
Right. Next question here is from Garwar, who asks or says, the time gate filter works for a lot of random things, but we don't have a way to filter for bench slot, which is important for finding champions for split the party. Any chance that could get added as a filter?
Bench slot. Don't see why not.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me.
We've been on the roll of adding filters, so you know.
Yeah, lots and lots of filters in the game recently.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when things get so many champions at this point. You actually start to need it. The design goals sort of change when it's like, oh, there's only 20 champions. We can put 6 up at a time. Then when you get to 100, it's like, all right, we better get 12 on the screen at once. Yeah.
Makes you wonder where we're going to be in 20 years when we've got 1,000 champions in the game. We wouldn't do 1,000 quite yet, but it'd be a large number, like 500. Let's see. Next question.
5 years, yeah.
Next question is from Fog Picasso 2, who asks, can we get can we have an indicator for trials whether the assault party damage is enough for trials completion? So
yeah,
basically whether or not
that it's on.
You got enough damage to kill Tiamat before the 7th day
projected
ends?
that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It seems like it's something that could be there. It would have to be. Like, can that go down at that point if people stop participating? Like,
no, assault party damage can never go down.
Okay, so there's sort of be a point at which that you're going to make it through. Yeah.
You're going to make it. You don't really need to do anything else. Doing stuff just makes you do it faster.
Indicator. You're good. You're fine. It's don't worry about this anymore.
Everyone start contributing 0 DPS from this point on.
Like backfire. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Next question. This one is from OG17. Asking, Emergence was introduced as an event, and there's been a lot of backlash as events have been free-to-play friendly, while Emergence is more of a cash shop with gameplay tie-ins. Why wasn't Emergence plainly presented as a rotating shop with some free currency rewards? That would have gone over far better and would not prime such negative expectations. Also, is this what the future of free-to-play content will look like?
Yeah, so these are good questions. I think that... I think we probably could have presented it in a different way. I do agree that the sort of having it look like an event is probably the wrong way to do it. And sort of the way that we were kind of thinking about it when we were initially putting the system together was initially we were looking for stuff to fill the gap between seasons. And then we were looking for something to do around the time that the D&D movie came out, which, if you haven't seen it yet, it's quite entertaining, so you should go see it. So we were looking for something to kind of fill the time and have that kind of daily check-in mechanic, and also have a bunch of stuff that you could get, similar to basically like a very, very short version, condensed version of a season. and that's where kind of the emergent stuff came from. And I think it definitely feels more like a very, very short season than a kind of somewhat shorter event. And so I think if it was presented that way, we might have sort of had a different reaction to it. Definitely the intention is that there's a bunch of stuff that normally you can only get in DLC, which is paid, but we're providing ways to get that with free currency, or to get a portion of that with free currency. And that was really our intention of having a bunch of stuff like GEs don't pop up very often for free to play players. And so having a way for a free to play player to get a GE and a couple of skins and a little bit of power was kind of how we were approaching that. So I think different people will kind of view it in different ways, and we're hoping that over time, as we have more of these emergence events, that it'll become more clear sort of what our intention for them is.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of there's another question here which was sort of along the same lines that I think we can sort of speak to in the same voice, which was down here from Fewer Pills, asking why can you only earn 61,000 corrupted gems and need 140k for all the stuff in the emergence shop. This is extremely unfriendly for new players, and it feels like a big cash grab.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you want me to answer that?
Well, sort of, can be.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of what I spoke to before, right? Like we were looking at sort of ways to fill that time between, and we're like, hey, can we give folks a bunch of stuff that we don't normally give them? And the answer was yes, we can do that, and we can have that be an engagement mechanic for the game. But at the same time, we also didn't want to be like, hey, we're robbing ourselves of an opportunity to sell this stuff, because that's how the game stays up, is we sell stuff, and some people choose to buy it, and we're very grateful to those people, and that's how we keep the servers on and the lights on and everyone employed. So at the end of the day, we have to have stuff that people can buy, or else we can't make the game anymore. And so when we were looking at this, we're like, we want to give something to free-to-play players, and that's the 61,000 gems that you can get by engaging with the system. But we also want to have stuff there that people can buy to support the game, and we're very grateful to those people who do.
Yeah, I think 100%. And it's definitely sort of some of the reaction comes from a matter of your perspective on it. It's certainly, we've added net new things to the game, and a portion of those, what is it? It's at least a third of the items available there you can earn just by playing the game, and then the additional option or items are there if you want to support us by buying those items. And so I think sort of, you look at it from like, oh, you only gave us 2/3 and you're cash grabbing the rest, or oh, hey, we're getting 2/3 or getting a third, and I have the option of buying these additional ones if I want. I don't think that sort of any sort of content in the game is kind of gated behind that. Yeah, it's definitely a matter of your perspective on it. But
yeah, and I think, I mean, I've seen a lot of people kind of using this kind of cash grab and like, oh, we're just trying to make as much money as possible. And I think I think one of the things we were very specific about in the emergence shop was that we didn't want it to be something where people where whales could go in and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, no,
and that's
limited.
Why we specifically limited the pigments, so that it wasn't a thing where there'd be this big divergence between free-to-play players and people who support the game and give us and buy some extra corrupted gems. So that's why we kind of capped that at 10 and made sure that it wasn't a thing where people who did have the opportunity to spend money in the game would come out way ahead of people who didn't.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's move on to some other questions.
Sure.
This is a question from Garwar, who asks, can we get a way to know how many corrupted gems we've earned by killing enemies and doing daily quests? Right now, there doesn't seem to be a way to know if we've maxed out our enemy kill quota.
Yeah. So this is one of the questions that came up during the design of that dialogue. We did have actually in the initial design we had what was it? We had the number you'd earned from daily quests. We had the number that your total, your number from daily quests, your number that you'd earned from Red Wizards killed, and you had the number that was the maximum that you could have at any given moment to try and show sort of if you'd cap that. And I know, sort of, I'm trying to remember from the discussion around that there was a question of some of that being confusing.
It was very even to the person who designed the system. Yes. The dialogue was confusing because you could get to the point where kind of the big number we showed was the number you currently had, but if you'd already gone and spent some of those, then we were showing like you've got 4,000 and you found 6,000 out of 6,200, and you've gotten 8,000 from quests, and it's like, but
right.
It just
did we
got
have a spent number on
numbers
there too? Because I think the problem is if you're hoping that all those numbers add up, you have to also show how many have been spent.
Yeah.
And there's an additional wrench that's going to get thrown in here, which is that the next time that we run the event, that the corrupted gems aren't going away. That's something that you get to keep, and it carries on to the next event. And so then those numbers especially wouldn't line up because, well, unless we had how many you started the event with. Anyway, nevertheless, we did have another discussion around this yesterday. The intent on this is to make it so it's more obvious sort of how many, if you are at your cap, and how many of the daily quests that you've completed. So what we're looking at right now, and this of course potentially could change before it gets rolled out, but our current iteration is looking like a subset of a set of checkboxes underneath the daily quests that shows which daily quests in order that you've actually got. The daily quest was a little confusing too because it doesn't change, which meant that, and it's also fairly straightforward to complete. So you might come back the next day and your offline progress, for example, might have killed the 100, and now it looks like it's still complete from yesterday. So that's no good. So what we're going to do there is put little checkboxes underneath that show each day that's been crossed off for the daily quest to make sure that you can see that you've got them all, or if you missed one, which one that you missed. And then we're also going to put the counter for how many gems you've gotten from kills. And I believe we're going to put the out of the total there, some indication of whether it was capped. We're going to at least do those first two things and then see if that clears things up, so that you kind of have a feeling for how many you've got. Because it feels like the two confusing points right now is, did I complete the daily quest? And am I currently capped, or is there something going wrong that I'm not getting corrupted gems when I kill a wizard? And I think right now that the case is in basically all cases, nothing's been going wrong. If you're not getting gems, it's because you're capped. But there's nothing that's clearly indicating that beyond not getting a gem. So definitely going to make some improvements there.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, as with all new features that go into the game, and people who've been playing for many, many years will know this, that we very much iterate based on player feedback and our own sort of impressions of things as well. So, I mean, this emergence event is, I think, just about done. And the next one is later in May, I think. I think it's after the season ends. And so it might be June. Whenever the season ends, the next emergence event will happen, and we'll probably likely have some changes in there and some adjustments based off of the feedback we've read about this one. May 24th. That looks right. All right, next question. This question is from Emote. They ask, any news on stopping the randomized placements of ads, such as the wild offers, weekend chests, sales, etc., every single area change?
So no, I don't have an update on that. I'm going to tag that one again. They shouldn't be changing every area. That's no good. I think we talked to this last show. It did come up before. Yeah. No, it shouldn't be happening. I don't have any updates on that. But I'll tag it again here.
Yeah, whenever the last episode or the one before when that got mentioned, that was the first I had heard of that, and I was like, oh, yeah, it definitely should not be doing that. So
yeah. Okay. Where are we at? Next question is from the Library of Akasha, and they would like to know: will 10 shiny potions equal 1 golden epic potion be happening, or thought about it and no?
So I don't think we're doing anything like that. We have, I do have a design for a kind of potion trading system.
The alchemist.
The alchemist or apothecary or whatever it was. Um, I don't think I put anything in there for trading shiny potions for golden epic potions. I think there are ways to trade your shiny potions for different type of potion, but it's not for golden epic potions. I don't think we're gonna do that, but I'll never say never.
Yeah, it
Let's
sounds like someone's
see.
got a lot of shiny potions. I think that's the question.
I know there are definitely folks out there who have like up to 100 or hundreds of shiny potions. So it's definitely something that we took into consideration when doing that design. The next question here is from Garwar. This is for you, Dave. It says, is the actual item page of the Forge getting a rework too? A lot of us had hoped it would be fixed too, but it wasn't touched.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Certainly, we focused on the champion selection part of the workflow that was confusing, or not confusing, but was difficult, because that seemed like the most difficult part of that. If there were specific requests for improvements on the actual Forge page, definitely send them my way and I'll take a look at them. I think we could certainly put a little bit of time into making that better too, if there's some specifics that should be looked at. I actually haven't looked at that page in a while, so off the top of my head, I'm struggling to picture exactly what's there. But yeah, forward along the feedback on that, and I'll definitely take a look at it. Okay, next question here. This one is from OG17. It says, say players that spend the end of the emergence event away from keyboard in a non-free play run like a trial or new emergence variant, or have a server issue or crash or just can't be online. Do free play corrupted gems keep dropping right until the end, or so you what until the end? So you just miss them? Do free play corrupted gems keep dropping right until the end, so you just miss them? Also, given the emergence already has a daily quest mechanic for logins, couldn't free play gems drop in the background and not be restricted to free plays, so it wouldn't conflict with other content?
Yeah, so a couple of questions in here. One of them we did definitely think about and address ahead of time. So the corrupted gem drops from Red Wizards. Those will, I believe we have those ending 15 or 30 minutes before the end of the event. So players have a bit of a grace period to max out their dropped gems. As for the free play gems dropping in background parties, I'm not 100% sure why we didn't do that, but I assume it has to do with some added complexity of getting background parties to do things that interact with events in that way. Similar to how like event tokens and whatnot don't tick up from background parties when you're just playing normally in normal events. So yeah, I imagine it's something to do with that. But I can ask about that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it probably would add to it's certainly more complicated, and it would certainly add to confusion, sort of, because I think if there was ticking up in the background, you likely wouldn't be seeing any drops in the foreground. I know there's probably going to be some contention around that.
Yeah, it could well be like if the background's eating up all your drops, you might be sitting there looking at your party killing a bunch of red wizards, being like, why am I not getting any drops?
Yeah, but it's also a case that the background parties don't simulate in real time. They simulate a portion of time and then they wait for it to catch up, and then they simulate a portion of time and then wait for it to catch up. Right. So it adds a significant amount of complexity to how that's being processed for things that are dropped over time. So I think like with something like that, the background parties literally would eat up all of the available tokens, or they. So I think at that point it becomes a question of, do we give you tokens in the foreground, or do all of your tokens go into the background party and you never see them at all?
I imagine there could also be kind of, because we simulate ahead a little bit, we wouldn't want to drop you those tokens, because then if you switch to that party and unspun that simulation, it just makes it take those tokens away. Yeah, it just gets super complex.
And for the added benefit of like it's a minor benefit to have it drop in the background, probably for added confusion and added complexity, because certainly when people would see that happening, they would realize that they were getting eaten in the background party, and Taylor would get inundated with questions about that. So I think it's more straightforward that it appears in the party that you're on.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. There's a giveaway after this question. Is that this question here, I guess?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, this next question is from Mest Yuval or Messy Duval or something like that. They say, will we be able to upgrade pigments in the future? Something similar to the legendary forging.
It's like a brand new feature, and when we get an
I
upgrade
want to
for
make it
yeah.
legendary.
Yeah.
Where are my legendary pigments at?
This sounds like something that we might consider in the future, but it doesn't. It's certainly nothing that we've put planning into at this stage.
Nope. Yeah, no. Beyond the sort of, we've got 4 pigments planned for DPS support, tanking, and healing, I think. And I think at this point we are not planning any beyond that or any upgrades to that, because there are plenty of champions who can use those pigments. So I think it'll be a little while before folks kind of have all of their champions fully pigmented out and are looking for additional power from that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we might consider upgrades to it or additional types. Yeah.
Level 2 pigments. Okay, so now it is time for the giveaway. The weekly when we're here, giveaway where everyone in chat has a chance to win 42 chests of your choice. The way it's going to work is very shortly there will be a message from Moobot in chat with a keyword. You type the keyword into chat, and that enters you into the draw. Apparently the keyword is there. It's Red Wizards, all one word, all lowercase. Whoever wins that draw gets to pick a type of chest in the game, and we will add 42 of those chests to your account. So good luck, everyone. And also, while you're typing in Red Wizards, also let us know what type of chest you would choose if you won. I would choose Modron component chests because my Modrons are still not super powered. So I need more pieces. More pieces, please.
Always support with the Modron component chests.
Support pigment chest. It has to be a type of chest that exists in the game. I want to be clear about that. It also can't be Gloria Bahamut chests because that's a rule that we put in place like 2 years ago, and it's just kind of stuck. So not that type of chest, and it has to be a type of chest that's in game. It can't be
Corrupted Gems chest. The
Corrupted Gems chest.
Oh, yes, and not the Clairvoyant admin chest.
Yeah, that one's straight out. Can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, it looks like it's well underway, and we can move on to the next question. This question is from Canelian, and they ask, V's character, Liane, I hope I'm saying that right, I'm in big trouble, became a pretty important part of the last ICP, and the viewers seem to love her. Is there any chance we might see her added to the game in the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a non-zero chance that that happens. V does work here, so it's a lot easier to get those kind of characters into the game, and I think if there's a lot of people who would love to see that character, then at some point down the road, if we've got an open slot and we're looking for a character to put in there, that could absolutely be one. I think we've got the design team on Champions works quite a bit ahead of time. So I think we're designing Champions right now for into the fall of this year. So it would be a little while, I think, before she would pop up there.
Yeah. Sorry, I was adding their hashtag picture.
Hashtag Liam for champion. Let's see who wins the draw. Who's it gonna be? Come on, Moobot. The Weeb Army. Congratulations. All right, let's move on to the next question.
Certainly.
The next question is from Loopy79, who says, any thoughts about having multiple wild offers available at once? Now that there are so many champions / familiars / etc. compared to when wild offers were first introduced, perhaps one golden epic, one skin, and one familiar available from wild offers at a time. What a great and timely question.
Yeah, I feel like we already discussed this.
I feel like we've had multiple meetings about this in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so it's certainly something that we would consider. It's multiple at a time, yeah. So champions, yeah. It was definitely something that actually was floated at a recent discussion about the wild offers. It's not a bad idea. It's certainly at this point there's so many options or so many items, so many different types of items available in wild offers that it may very well be that getting one that has a type that you're looking for, whether that's a champion, like whether it's a golden epic or a familiar or a skin and a feat, that would be having multiple up at the same time would give a better choice for players. So it's definitely something that we've been discussing. We don't have sort of any direction on that at this point, sort of whether it's yay or nay, but it's definitely an idea that has been floated, and it might be a good option, just to making some more of that large pool of items available, and or more of them available at a time.
Yeah, and I think like you say, there's a ton of items in wild offers. I think we were looking at over 600 different items.
It's just around 600.
Yeah, so, which is pretty crazy.
So it could be quite a while before you get one that you like. So yeah,
I did implement a small change last week, which I don't think we've really talked about externally, because it's just
sounds like you're going to now, though.
It's not something we generally talk about as small algorithm changes to wild offers, but we did make one small change to try and get it to offer items for champions you use more frequently. So kind of similar to the weekly party system. We look at the champions that you've been using in the game in the last few weeks, and we try to give you wild offers for those champions as much as possible. But it's a slow process to tweak that stuff, see how it works, and then tweak it again and repeat on that.
Wait, didn't you break the weekly party system doing that?
I did briefly break the weekly party system for about 40 minutes when doing that. So my apologies to anyone who got what was it? It would be Birdsong, Celeste, and Jarlaxle this week. My bad.
Okay.
Let's see. Next question here is for Battle Pickle 615. I like that I'm getting to ask you a lot of questions this week. This is fun.
You're just asking. I didn't agree to this question.
Can we get the feats that affect patron eligibility put in brackets or something? I.e., if it's like charisma +1, or I guess something +1, and then show the patrons that it can apply to, or that it can help you get into.
The feats I mean, that's not a bad idea. That's sort of the opposite, or not to say the opposite per se, but sort of the coming from the other side of the indicator on the champion portrait to show that if they activated a feat, they would be eligible in a given adventure. I mean, I don't mind that idea at all. It's, you tag that. Unless you're dead set against it, Justin.
I'm not dead
know this information.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Let's go for it. Next question here is from Randram, who asks, and I highlighted this one for you because I want the answer to it too.
Okay.
And you might know. There used to be a green dot on the character sheet itself when an item had pigments, but now it seems you have to pull up the card to see whether or not there's a pigment. Can we have the dot back?
Yes. We took away the dot?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about.
Why would we do that? I'll ask what happened there. I don't know why we took away the dot. So
the dot is emote says the dot appears after applying the pigment and then vanishes.
Oh,
so maybe that's a.
There could be some issues there. I know there was discussion earlier from some comments that have been brought up during one of Mars's streams today that some of the indicators on the pigmented cards had been disappearing after the application. So like during the live, like while the game was open, they were fine, but then if you closed it and reopened it, those indicators were gone. So I'm not entirely sure why that would be the case, but I know that was something that was being discussed this morning. And so I'm definitely be taking a look at that because that sounded like a bug. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question here is from Garwar, asking, it was previously stated that pigments would be under the regular dismantle option, but can they be instead added to removal under legendary dismantle instead? They're far more like legendaries in that you place them based on building teams out.
Yeah, so I have been thinking about this a little bit, and I think I guess I can state sort of my original reasons for wanting them under the regular dismantle instead of legendary dismantle, and that would be that I kind of consider them more like golden, like an additional tier like golden or shiny, where it's basically just adding a bigger effect to the item. In this case, it's adding a fixed bigger effect to the item. So I was kind of thinking of them like, hey, you're taking this card and you're making it kind of the equivalent to a golden card, which, to be fair, you can also think of legendaries as being that way. But legendaries are built with in-game currency, and golden pigment and that sort of stuff are more of a premium currency. So that's kind of why we chose to put them under the regular dismantle rather than legendary dismantle, because we really want you to think about where they go, and make sure you're putting them on to champions. Like if you were going to buy a golden epic, you would buy a specific golden epic for a specific champion, and it wouldn't be something that you would get under, or you would be able to dismantle on a legendary dismantle. With that said, I'm not entirely sure that I still agree with my reasoning, so it's something that we'll probably be thinking about when we start to get towards the next sort of round of dismantles, which will happen at the beginning of season 4.
All right. Next question. This one is from Gauntlet Blade. It's a weird place for a blade. Clayton, you got your hand. When will Roderick, the immovable rod with googly eyes, Roderick, the immovable rod with googly eyes, be added to familiars?
That's a very good question, and
you have
I don't
a very
know if we're
good
getting
answer
into
for
another.
it, right?
I don't know if we're getting into another situation where every time they ask, it's another weekend before it gets added. But
No.
I can check in with the team and see what's going on with Roderick, the immovable rod with googly eyes.
Okay. Next question. This is from Snores a Lot. Will the support pigment cycle back into the emergent shop after we go through the other pigment types?
So we are not quite sure what types of pigments we're going to put into each emergent shops. There is the support pigment is obviously always going to be the most desirable of the pigment types. DPS, tanking, healing. We're going to have less champions who are gunning for those particular pigments, because most formations are made up of 1 or 2 tanks, 1 or 2 healers, 1 DPS, and a whole thwack of support. So I think support pigments will probably be the ones that primarily feature in the immersion shop, and the other ones will come from other sources, most likely. We are looking at, I think in season 4, having a couple of pigments on the reward track there. So minor spoiler for season 4. Assuming that survives the next 8 or 6 or 8 weeks or whatever, and makes it out with the launch of that season.
Okay, whereabouts are we? Next question. This one is from Engel Tiger. Given the emergence items are from a new permanent currency, will the items go to the gem store when they're retired?
I think that I feel like we included information about this in the blog. So my recollection may not be correct here. So apologies if we have other sources that contradict this. But my understanding is that once the feats rotate out of the Thayan Enclave shop, they will be available for gems. Potentially they'll also go into wild offers. I'm not sure. The skins will definitely go into wild offers, and the GE will go into wild offers. So that'll be the source of those after they cycle out at the end of the next emergence.
Okay.
This one's not a question. This is from Alaric Frost, who says, very nice thing. Says, you guys do an amazing job for how hard you work and as intricate as things have to work together in this game. Kudos, gents, honestly.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very complex game 5 years in. We were actually talking about this recently, about how it's how the process of making the game changes from sort of day one of making the game to 5 years into making the game, and it's very, very different things that we have to think about now. And Dave was mentioning earlier, like we designed a dialogue 5 years ago, and it's like, hey, yeah, there's only 20 champions in the game.
Yes.
You know, making it fit 6 at a time will be fine, which works great until you have 120 champions in the game, and then 6 at a time just doesn't work anymore. So a lot of the kind of stuff that we spend time thinking about now is sort of how to go back and remove that kind of what started out as a good idea and is no longer a good idea. And it's an interesting challenge for 5 years into a live service
and not
game.
to mention things like, additionally, when we switched over to, or when we added, console releases, now there were 2 interfaces for everything.
Yes.
And then localization meant that now actually not only did you have to be 2 interfaces, but the interfaces had to support varying lengths of text and descriptors based on various languages. So that, and then we have to think of all of those things with every new thing that goes in.
Mm-hmm. It's 14 dialogues essentially per dialogue we add.
Yes.
1 for console, 1 for regular, and 7 different languages.
Okay. Next question. This is from Max I. Kubert. Would it be possible to sell potions or other things to the Thean Enclave or other shop for gems or for other potions? It's obviously okay that you would lose a bit in the trade. I didn't quite read that clearly. It's sell potions or other things to the Thean Enclave for gems or for other potions. So to sell or trade. Mm-hmm. Obviously being that it would be at some kind of a discounted rate.
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit earlier about kind of the idea of the alchemist or the apothecary or whatever the heck we said it was called. I think you said alchemist and I said apothecary, and I don't know which one is right. But yes, I mean, I think that this is a good example of something that becomes a problem 5 years into a live service game, is that there are people who have a whole lot of items that they just don't see a lot of value in. So a lot of the potions that people have, they may not find the value in, or they may be earning them at a rate faster than they can use them, or just use specific ones. And so that's one of the things we're thinking about with that alchemist, is ways to trade your potions that you don't want to use for ones that you do want to use. Or upgrade them to higher tier ones that you want to use, and get rid of the ones you don't want to use. I think we don't want to do something that is too general in that case, where you can literally just take everything you don't want and just turn it back into gems, just so you can buy more chests to basically filter out all the things you don't want and only get the ones that you do, because that's just not great for the economy of the game. But I think there's limited situations where we would do stuff like this.
Cool. I was just trying to figure out the difference between an alchemist and an apothecary.
They both work with potions, don't they?
It says that an alchemist works in an apothecary. I don't know. I think this is.
Oh, is an apothecary just the place, and the alchemist is the person?
Yeah. Question: does an alchemist work in an apothecary workplace? Alchemists typically work in apothecaries where they can house their tools and ingredients.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Alchemy
Moving
uses
on.
metal as well, right? Like turning like lead into gold and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought they were hoping for fantastical things like an elixir of life or something.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah. These are the important questions that we ask ourselves. Well, you guys are asking us these other important questions. Let's see. The next question here is from BattlePickle615, who asks, can we add filters to our champion bar, i.e. filter for affiliation or role? Well, you should ask me this one.
All right, do you have an answer for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something where the collections dialogue rework kind of comes into play, because this is something that definitely when we were talking about the design of that is something we would include on there. So you could go in, bring up the dialogue, go into the champions section, and then filter by all sorts of stuff to sort of filter and search through to see specific champions, which ones you have, which ones you don't have, etc.
Yeah, but I mean, that sounds like it's a little bit of a different question than adding a filter to the champion bar itself.
Yeah.
Which is a question that I think from a filtering of the bar is something that like typically we've avoided doing. We've avoided hiding slots on the bar generally because we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where, a seat is missing and you don't know why. But I
think, specifically for filtering for affiliations or role, it looks like they're looking for specific champions to kind of synergize with what they have on the field. Yeah. Not that they're looking to like, hey, only show me the champions that are on the field, and don't show me any others, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like a filter on the bar would mean it would hide the other ones, right? So
possibly, or it could just gray them out or disable them or something like that, or some sort of way of showing which ones match the filter and which ones don't.
Yeah. Nevertheless, that like filtering on that bar is probably kind of that's not something that we've been particularly keen on. So.
Next question here.
And this is a bit of a recap from the previous question, so you can ask this question, but we did answer this, so I'll just sort of touch on it when you ask it.
Oh yeah, okay. This one, sorry, I didn't read it before I started. Yes, so this one's from Great Big Slug. This is very similar to an earlier question. They ask, can an emergence tracker be added for gems earned versus total gems and/or variants completed out of the total variants, etc.?
Yeah, and this was something that is feedback that we've had asked about a few times, and we will be adding definitely clarifying fields onto that dialogue for the next event. And the same as there's another question down here that I also highlighted on the same vein, asking about a checklist for future emergence quests. And that is also something that will be on the future dialogue, sort of a checkboxes for each quest that you've completed, so you can see that you got, all 7 of them or all 9 of them, depending on the length of the event. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay, going back up here, we got a question from Gregarious. I don't know if the guy's name is Greg or Gary. Could be.
It's Gregary.
And they ask, as some quests only appear to increment their totals when running a party in the foreground, can we have an indicator on the quest to show if they need to be completed via a foreground party?
Oh, I specifically didn't highlight this question because I didn't have an answer for it, Justin. I'm not sure if you have.
See, I'm just the designer, so I go, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I'm not sure how many quests actually fall into that category is sort of at the top of my head. I would have to see sort of if we had some that very specifically were like that. Off the top of my head, like I can think of like one, but I'm probably not the best person to sort of have an encyclopedic knowledge of the actual quest variants, because the timed ones I think fell into that category. Or maybe they actually didn't specifically fall into that category.
Are you talking about individual adventures that need to be completed via foreground party?
I think that's what the request is here. Unless
I think they're talking about quests, like
like the actual
quests.
Like a challenge,
like a season quest.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I think they're talking about. And there are some season quests that definitely only increment on foreground, and there's some that count in the background. But I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure what the ratio is between those. I'm not sure if it's 90 that count in the background, 90%.
Can you think of some that don't count in the background?
I'm sure there are very specific ones that are focused around specific champion abilities, because I know that even though in background parties we do simulate champion abilities, we do a lot of skipping of areas. So, or maybe not in background, but certainly in offline progress, we skip a bunch of areas. So if something's to like, the Waspiration one's a good example where it's like, get a bunch of Waspiration stacks on Spurt. It's like, because we don't necessarily kill every single enemy in background parties or offline progress, we may not count the right number there. So I think that Alaric Frost says I should be tarred and feathered. Maybe it was Pete. Maybe it wasn't me.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of my first take on this. I'd want to know how many this was impacting, and if there's something we could do about that. Because if it is, let's say it's only that one, maybe we just pull that one out and then they all work in the background.
I think it's probably very similar to like how, a bunch of speed abilities don't necessarily work in the background. It's just because we don't simulate enough for them to function properly at this point, and we really just need to kind of hard code them in, or have some sort of encoding for how much progress you should get. And I think if we were going to do this perfectly, I think we would do something similar for those, where it's like if you have Spurt in your background party, you can get credit for X per minute just kind of naturally, rather than it having to try and actually simulate having enemies or having champions adjacent to Spurt kill enemies so that he gets the Waspiration stacks, so that he generates new or invents new abilities and stuff like that. So yeah.
Right. Okay.
You want to do one or two more?
I think we probably get away with two, because I think the next one is a freebie.
Okie dokie. Next one is from Fewer Pills, and they ask, can we please change the age in the legendary slash blacksmithing filters to release date or ID? And can we get seat as a sort option there too, without filtering out other seats, so it just shows all champions in seat order? And can we please get gold and speed as role filters?
So I can answer the first one immediately. Done. Yeah, age, I think that was a sort from the store. And I think it is still release date is age. That was there was how old is the champion, not what's the age of the champion, it's what's the age of the champion.
Of course.
Couldn't be more clear. Release date it's been changed to release date. Yeah, because age was actually indicating sort of how long the champion had been alive in the game, quote unquote, if you're going to call that alive. But that's not, I'm digging myself a hole. But the point is, it's release date, not age. So that has been changed. I can see in the changelog here, that isn't built yet or out, but in the next push it will, in the next build it'll be there. We could probably get an option for sorting by seat, for sure, as opposed to just a filter, because I think we've got the filter, and then gold and speed as role filters, provided that is tagged, certainly.
Yeah, the tags for those exist on the
I wonder why they didn't get included there.
Me too.
It's odd. Okay.
I wonder if, I bet I know why. I bet we added the role filters for the purpose of the pigment dialogue, and there are no gold or speed pigments. And so we just did the filters for the 4 that there's going to be pigments for, because I guess that's the use case that was designed for.
Okay.
Cool. Quickly do one more.
Sure. We can bang this one off.
OD17 asks, can the new sorting use a drop-down menu instead of left-right cycling as an option? Maybe.
I will tell Nick that's been requested. He will scowl at me, and we'll see where it goes from there. That's all I can promise. Okay.
All right. Well, do we want to reverse this one too?
No.
So that's all we got time for. If we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We will be live again next week, assuming that one of us isn't sick. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. I believe this week it was Jordan and Gabe. So thanks to both of you. They're the folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and help to make chat awesome. So thank you both.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Bye.
Justin, what's blue and not very heavy?
I don't know. What?
Light blue.
You're fired.
Aw.